live king cobra snake blood ritual with Montauk Chia in Bangkok basically was, if you see through the snake blood's memory line, you see that there was a drastic war in which the Orion Queen Mog warriors, which I believe at a later time came to be called the Jehovah warriors, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh warriors, in the Orion Wars. And Enlil took the name Jehovah much later for Yahweh. And so what happened was there was a battle, and a nuclear beam hit the portion of the Mog lineage, and what happened was after that they had two hearts. And the evidence is rather extensive that the Dracos at Montauk and Dulce had two hearts, here and here, highly telepathic, hard to kill, very powerful, okay? And this became what later was called the Nephilim. This is the important word here, Nephilim, which is well referred to in Bible and correctly described as the fallen ones, the ones who lost implosion in their DNA and all of the psychokinesis and ensoulment that went with it. So the loss of implosion and ensoulment in DNA became not the whole seraphim bloodline, but just a branch, a small part of that bloodline fell. But the part of that bloodline that did fall was a big part in the recent genetic engineering in our planet. And the whole seraphim angelic family is heartbroken about having lost a fractionated piece of their soul group. We're not saying the seraphim are bad. The word seraphim here comes from Asaru. Asaru. The Asaru was the name for the Orion Queen warriors, Asa, which then becomes our word Sarah, which we'll see later, means wife of Ra, the sun god. Okay? Well, that's a sort of galactic history. It's a big picture. The Empire Strikes Back, the Holy Orion conflict. Earth's history is just a recent skirmish in the Orion conflict. You can see the result of the Orion conflict by simply looking at the local picture in the galactic sector, and you see the spiral arms of the section of the galaxy around Orion is screwed up. Literally, the stars do not fit a spiral so well. The fabric of time got fractionated because of the Orion Wars. We cannot die. We have seen the starships burning off the shoulders of Orion. Remember Tron? Anybody knows what a Tron is? Tron is one who can remember the phase angle between the circle and the line, and thus carry biological memory through time travel interactively. Remember, interactive dynamic, I'm going fast here. Interactive dynamic time travel is the solution to the arriving predatory ETs at wingmakers.com, which is a site I highly recommend, wingmakers.com, along with lettersfromandromeda.com. The only thing wingmakers.com gets wrong is the source of the BST, blank state technology, interactive dynamic time travel. They regard it as a mechanical problem. It's clearly a psychological problem as well. To get interactive dynamic time traveler literally means you need to be a time lord, right? Able to travel in time interactively. When your DNA goes through the speed of light, it necessarily inhabits time. And the time fabric itself must be fractal, and that was an Ophanic agenda, the repair of the fabric of time, which later becomes a Templar agenda. But we get ahead of our story. The question sort of was who set up whom here. It gets to be a bit of a catch-22. Let's play with that. Okay, and that's your question too, in a way. Well, who done it? Well, that's the big picture. That's the Orion Wars. Now let's get local. And by local, let's visit the star Sirius at the time when the Orion sector Queen Mogs have run and ruled with terror a high percentage of the inhabitable planetoids. And the regent at that time was a fellow named An, or An-Tu, from which comes our word Solari-An, and Tuatha-De-Danann, which means the sun gods or the people of the gods. An, Anu. Anu was the regent and the Syrian sector who was responsible to the Orion contingent, literally equivalent to what was described as the trading houses in Dune. And An had two sons. An's two sons, let's look at him in the center. An's two sons, he had other children, but his two sons were Enki and Enlil. And Enki and Enlil were the brothers of East of Eden, which is the basis of the Arab-Israeli conflict today. And An's two sons had the same dad but a different mom. The dad was An-Tu, who was this regent on Sirius. The different mom was the fact that Enki's mother was a high-winged Draco, whose blood has not fallen. Sometimes the word for the winged Draco is called Siakar, and you'll see that in a few places in the literature. And it relates to the Christian word for cherubim. Okay? So at any rate, Enki's mom had winged DNA. And the winged DNA means if you're clairvoyant and you look, you see that the arc angle of magnetism leaving their heart appears to have wings. It's implosive. The bird tribes, the winged ones. So Enki had a mom that allowed him to learn the skill of ensouling DNA. Now that's not a mystery to you now that we've spent 2 days saying exactly what it means to ensoul DNA. Remember, how do you turn lightning into ball lightning? You teach the tornado to eat its own tail, right? Well, that's how you make ensouled DNA, and it's how you bring people back from the dead. So later when Enki's kids, which becomes the Jesus Tutankhamun story, you can understand why they only were able to ensoul DNA and bring people back from the dead. Whereas Enlil's mom was of the fallen DNA, so Enlil becomes the conservative brother who says, well, we got to follow the rules. And the Orion Empire the Orion Empire paid a huge investment for the artificial mining planetoid called Nibiru because they needed the gold powder desperately. Sitchin says they were using the gold to repair the atmosphere of the home planet, which is true, but it's a cover story. The fact is they were eating the gold. And they were eating the gold because they were addicted to the gold powder. It was the only way they could speed up their DNA after they fell, the Nephilim, right? So Enki takes the name Ea, for whom earth is named. And later he takes the name Adon and Adonai as Tutankhamun. And Enlil and his lineage is that of Thoth, Hermes, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun. And the story of Tutankhamun was later lied about, and the myth was changed to the story of Jesus, which is really the story of Tutankhamun. So that lineage there is the bloodline of Enki, whereas Enlil took the name Yahweh and Michael, Mikael. And Mikabo, after Michael, became the word for God in most of the native Indian languages, and Mikabo means literally Enlil. So here you have two arriving brothers along with the sisters Inanna and Ninhursag, and they arrive in this artificial gene splicing planetoid Nibiru, towed into orbit as it were here. And this family called the Annunaki get really bored and angry having to dig up the gold themselves, so they have to make some gold mining slaves. You heard this story before, and that story becomes Adam and Eve. Basically, what happened is they took Cro-Magnon. First they took, Enki did it, Enlil just copied, but he took Cro-Magnon's sperm and put it in an Anunnaki egg, and they made the first, what were called Takadama. Takadama means Borg or donkey from Orion. A Tak means Orion, and Adama means donkey or Borg, from which comes the word Adam, as in Adam and Eve. And so these first genetic experiments were not fertile. This was very crude attempt at cloning. These guys were klutzes, okay? And so when we mistranslate the Sumerian and call it the Bible, in fact, we're describing some very low-level genetic engineering. It ain't anything to be proud of, and they're not proud of it today, I assure you. But just to give you an idea of the shape and appearance of these beings, I'll just show you. I think we looked the other day at the Lion Place. Lion Path? Lion Path. Here it is. So here's the Sumerian goddess statue. Okay, also this is Sumerian goddess figures from the Ubayyad, but somebody correctly pointed out that these statues are much older than Sumeria. Sumer means more than South Sea. It also means in the lineage of the Merovingians. And this is the interventionist Anunnaki, sometimes called Anuhazi, which relates to our story of Anasazi. And this is the Dracos. So the Draco bloodline from Alpha Draconis, Arrakis was a planet in Alpha Draconis. The star map of Alpha Draconis is at Senshi in China and Angkor Wat. Okay? So here you have the interventionist Draco, and here you have the crossbreed Anuhazi, and here you have the winged Draco Siakar. And here you have the Sumerian goddess statue. Now here's the morph. Okay. So here is straight out of the drawings of actual witnesses at Montauk and Dulce and elsewhere of the Alpha Draconis. This is from Anna Hayes' book, Voyagers. So I'm just giving you an idea that what came to later be called God were literally medium-grade interventionist reptile klutz genetic engineers. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. Maybe you're not interested in my opinion, but